songs if that's the way to be. I'll win a class to beat them all and go down in history. I'll be the one to reach the stars, but only if you're with me tonight, 'cause that'll be the life. I'm gonna go write a million songs if that's the way to be. I'll win a class to beat them all and go down in history. I'll be the one to reach the stars, but only if you're with me tonight, 'cause that'll be the life. 'Cause that'll be the life. 'Cause that'll be the life.
Hello again and welcome to episode 52 of Main Street Martin and our latest cruise to Northern Europe in January 2025 on the MSC Preziosa. In previous episodes we've cruised on the Sky, Regal and Enchanted Princess ships as well as the Carnival Sunshine and produced Mediterranean and Caribbean cruise series in places like Grand Turk, Marseille, Rome, Naples and Athens. Don't forget you can still check out all of the previous episodes, including those previous cruises, right here on this channel. And if you enjoy any of the videos, please make sure you click on the like button, ring that notification bell to be informed of any future videos, and if you possibly can, please help the channel by subscribing. Now in the last episode we sailed from Southampton on the MSC Preziosa, gave you a tour of the ship and explored the first port city of Hamburg in Germany. In this episode, we're going to show you around the cities of Rotterdam, Bruges and Le Havre. So on the morning of day 5, we arrived in Zeebrugge or Zeebrugge, the gateway to Brussels and the rest of Belgium. Now we've been to the capital several times before, so we chose to visit Bruges for the very first time. However, if you do visit Brussels, you'll see that it's really two cities in one. Old Brussels is a city of superb Baroque architecture with ornate guild halls, cobbled lanes and one of the finest squares in Europe, and New Brussels is the modern city, the capital of the European Union, the home of NATO and the seat of the European Atomic Energy Committee. But here we are on a foggy morning in Bruges. We've taken a guided walking tour of the picturesque city as an MSC excursion, including the bus transfer from the port. Here the museums hold some of the country's finest collections of Flemish art, and its maze of winding streets and narrow canals are lined with beautiful historic buildings. Now the obvious place to start any exploration of this city is the two principal squares, the Markt, overlooked by the mighty belfry, and the Burg, flanked by the city's most impressive architectural ensemble. Now close by are the three main museums, along with the Groening, which offers a wonderful insight into early Flemish art. Also nearby is St. Jan's Hospital and the important paintings of the 15th century artist Hans Memling, as well as Bruges' most impressive churches. So as you can see, our bus and our guide picked us up at the port and transported us to the outskirts of the city, where we followed our guide on foot across the inner and outer waters, the canals that circle the city and were built to protect the medieval Bruges from attack. And along the way we passed this impressive powder tower, a sort of medieval security tower guarding the gateway of the city and dating back to the 1400s. Also in Belgium, of course, lots of chocolate shops, chocolate museums, chocolate factories, and lots of references to swans, which is one of the images of Bruges. Now this is an interesting water feature. It's said that the coach drivers would stop here to get water for their horses, and the only place to get the water was a local bar. The drivers would apparently end up having a drink or two and forgetting their passengers altogether who were sitting outside waiting in the carriage. So the local authorities put this water pump in so that the drivers didn't have to leave their passengers and go into the bar. The next brief stop on our tour was at this local brewery, and our guide told us about a fascinating pipeline.
There was need for expansion, and they had to build a new bottlery. But here there was not enough place in the historical center, and they built the new bottlery outside the city, and they continued to brew here, and to transport the beer from here to that new bottlery. They made a pipeline. It's quite unique in the world. You have a pipeline for beer with that length of 3,276 meters.
The pipeline was constructed in 2016 and has enabled the company to carry on brewing on the same site for more than 5 centuries and 6 generations of the same family. If you'd like to go and visit it, it's called the Half Moon Brewery. This is St John's Hospital, apparently, which is the oldest hospital in Europe from the 12th century.
John, take us home. This while I bring you.
So this is a former school where English children used to go, and eventually the English kids taught the Belgian boys how to play football, and that's where the English actually formed FC Bruges, the football club, originated from the pupils of that school behind me. This is the main street, known as Stone Street, because it was the first street to have a proper stone floor. And here, a stone's throw from the school where the club was first founded, is the FC Bruges club shop. All of these medieval buildings are absolutely beautiful, dating back to around the 15th century. So this is now a McDonald's. Well, it was, or downstairs at least, but it is, or was, the building of the Shoemakers Guild. And you can see the boot or shoe motif there halfway up. Absolutely beautiful building. And next to the Shoemakers Guild building is this, which is the Furniture Makers Guild building. The red painted front there with the gold edging is the Guild of the Masons building. So at the bottom of Stone Street, the main street, is the Market Square, which is the original centre of the medieval Bruges. The Market Square is the beating heart of Bruges and is dominated by the Belfry, some 83 metres high and the city's most prominent building. If you climb to the top of the Belfry, you're rewarded with breathtaking panoramic views of the city. In the Market Square itself, you'll find the imposing provincial court and the many colourful stepped gables, and you can also take a carriage ride from here. The beautiful white building is former governor's building. It's now a museum. Look at the ornate architecture. What a beautiful square. So this is the belfry, which is around 82 metres high, leaning by about 80 centimetres to the east.
Yo preferiría, o sea, me parece mucho más grave no querer.
So this Gothic style building is the Bruges Town Hall. So if the market square is the heart of Bruges, then this, Burg Square, is its soul. For centuries it's been the centre of power in the city, and Bruges' city administration still occupies this 14th century Gothic town hall. The grand majestic square is lined with monumental landmark buildings, built over the centuries and reflecting the building styles of their age. This ranges from the Basilica of the Holy Blood through to the Deanery. And nestled in the corner is the Chapel of the Precious Blood of Jesus Christ, which we'll try and go and see a little bit later on when we have some free time. Over on this side are the courts of justice. The monumental town hall is one of the oldest in the Low Countries. It's from here that the city has been governed for more than 600 years. There's an absolute masterpiece inside in the Gothic hall, which has an impressive vault and 20th century murals depicting the history of Bruges. And on the day we were there, a wedding was taking place. This on the left is the fish market. So this is Tanner's Square, where all the tanners lived. Each of these was a tannery, and that's the guild of the tanners.
This is when the David shifted in that direction and the
This is the house of the 7 works of charity. We walked over the Boniface Bridge and around the magnificent Church of Our Lady and Museum. The 115-metre high brick church tower here is the second tallest in the world. Now inside you'll find a wealth of art treasures as well, with Michelangelo's world-famous Madonna and Child as the highlight. The church interior also contains numerous paintings, 13th and 14th century painted crypts, and the 15th and 16th century tombs of Mary of Burgundy and Charles the Bold. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to go inside on this trip, but it's certainly something we'll return to in the future. The Belfry Tower in Bruges dates from the 13th century. As I mentioned earlier, it's 83 metres high and protected as a World Heritage Site. If you climb up to the top, you get some fantastic views, but there are 366 stairs, so bear that in mind. And on the way you can stop in the Treasury, in which the City Hall marks, the City Seal and the City Treasury were kept in the Middle Ages. And you'll also come across the impressive music roll that controls the carillon and the keyboard on which the city carillonneur plays the 47 carillon bells.
We're going to hear from Museum Ellen.
This is the Basilica of the Holy Blood. This church houses a relic of the Holy Blood allegedly collected by Joseph of Arimathea and brought from the Holy Land by Thierry of Alsace, Count of Flanders. This was built between 1134 and 1157 as the chapel of the Count of Flanders, and it was promoted to a minor basilica in 1923. It consists of a lower and upper chapel. The lower chapel, dedicated to St. Basil the Great, is a dark Romanesque structure that remains virtually unchanged. We began our tour in the lower chapel before climbing the stairs to the upper chapel, and we filmed as much as we could, but once we approached the relic, we didn't film that as a mark of respect. The venerated Passion relic is in the upper chapel, which was rebuilt in the Gothic style in the 16th century and renovated in the 19th century in Gothic revival style. So we booked this excursion with MSC, and the great thing about this guided walking tour of Bruges was that we were able to explore the medieval cobblestone streets, walking through the picturesque city, passing major sites including the market square with the guild houses, the belfry tower, the Burg square, which was the focal point of ancient Bruges, seeing the provost house, the town hall, and much more. And at the end of it, we had a couple of hours to explore the city on our own, taking a look in some of the speciality shops. They're plentiful and overflowing with souvenirs, Belgian chocolates, tapestries, and so on. And then at the end of the day, our guide led us back to the coach and a return to our ship. Our guide told us that there are well over 1,000 different beers in Belgium, and this shop has more than 500 of them. And then next door, wouldn't be Belgium without waffles. And these are different because these are waffles on a stick. It's still January, but as you can see, quite a few places still have their Christmas decorations up. And after 4 or 5 hours of exploring Bruges and a couple of hot chocolates, we're making our way back to the ship.
Gebäude mit den 2 grünen Türmchen, und es gibt ja auch ein Schiffchen ganz oben, und das war früher mal der Hauptsitz von der Seekreuzfahrt.
Bright and early the next morning, we're in another country, in a very different city, and on a different coach. This time, we were touring Rotterdam, boarding the coach early and travelling past creative and modern architectural sites, including the Wiener Building, Café Rotterdam, and many others. We saw the main street of the central area of the city on the right bank of the Maas, and at the end of this wide street, we saw the town hall, built between 1914 and 1920 in Dutch Renaissance style.
So since 2014, there are 2 hotel suites, hotel rooms on top of the rooftop terrace, and an overnight stay is around €300, but this is then including breakfast.
You just saw a brief glimpse of the 607-foot tall Euromast Tower, and now we were taking a walking tour of Delfshaven, a borough of Rotterdam on the right bank of the river. It was from here that the Pilgrim Fathers set out on their epic journey to America in 1620.
So, in front of you, behind me, a very old building, 1653, so 1653. And this used to belong to the Porters Guild. So, eigentlich war das ein Verein für die Leute, die die Säcke, die die Waren getragen haben, die rausgeladen für den Schiffen. So, Sie sollen sich mal vorstellen, die Schiffe haben angelegt. So, well, later on, it's a bit busy with cars and so, but we will walk towards the bridge. So später wieder mal Richtung der Brücke laufen, dann können Sie diese Kirche besser sehen. You can see the church better, but here steht this in English, so here in English, this is the starting point of the speed well on which the Pilgrim Fathers sailed to England on August 1st, 1620. They changed the boat there for the Mayflower, bound for the New World.
So the guide was telling us that the cow's head on the top of this building means that this was probably a butcher's.
So I will also show you a warehouse, a typical warehouse, and a statue of Piet Hein, and then after that we will go back to the coach and continue out. In Rotterdam, we have a lot of
This is the stunning Rotterdam Market Hall. Built in 2014, it's an iconic destination in the city. It's centrally located, and even if you're not hungry, the building itself is a must-see attraction. It's a massive structure. It not only holds the food market, but apartments as well. It was designed as a huge arch, and the inside is covered in vibrant food-inspired murals. And while you're inside, you can sample a selection of typical Dutch products, from cheeses to bakery produce, and there are other international cuisines represented as well, everything from Spanish and Turkish to Indonesian. We then took a short walk in the rain to explore these cube houses, a set of innovative houses designed by architect Piet Blom. They're based on the concept of living as an urban roof, with high density housing with sufficient space on the ground level. The main purpose was to optimise the space inside, although that's difficult to understand without going inside yourself. Blom combated the ideas of conventional residential architecture by tilting the cube shape on its corner and resting it on a hexagon-shaped pylon. His main goal was to create an urban area that felt like a village. And these buildings are just a sample of the cube houses that are spread around the world, including Toronto in Canada. The Rotterdam cube houses in the old harbour area of the city celebrated their 40th anniversary last year, and since they were completed in 1984, they've attracted tourists from all over the world. So for the price of €3, we couldn't resist taking a look inside one of the buildings.
Seriously, I do the mess.
If you're in Rotterdam, the cube houses are well worth a visit, and if you'd like to go inside one of them and take a look around, again the admission price is just €3. In fact, they're so popular they even have their own website, so if you want to find out more, go to the address on the screen right now. We're back outside the cruise terminal now, and just before we set sail, it's worth pointing out the brick building at the end of this road. It's the Hotel New York, and it used to be the headquarters of the Holland America line when it was Dutch owned and before it was bought by the Carnival Group. So here we are in Le Havre. It's France's second largest port, dominated by the Seine estuary and the gateway to Paris. There are excursions if you want to go that far, but we decided to explore Le Havre itself. Obviously the Normandy countryside around here is beautiful as well. You can visit the historic D-Day landing beaches, the Hour landings, of course on the 6th of June 1944, live on in the memories of British and Americans alike. The port here was almost completely destroyed during the Normandy campaign, but from the port you can head for the historic landing sites or on to Paris. So we're going to take a look around Le Havre. It's supposed to be worth exploring. It's been designated a World Heritage Site back in 2005. The Musée des Beaux-Arts, André Malraux, boasts one of the finest collections of Impressionist paintings in the world, and this port can also be the opportunity for you to discover the beautiful town of Rouen, which I went to many years ago on a school trip, and it is beautiful. It's the capital of Upper Normandy and one of France's most ancient cities. One thing we did consider visiting while here was the small town of Honfleur, surrounding a little 17th century harbour here in Normandy. It's known for its old and very picturesque port. It has houses with slate covered frontages, many historic buildings and churches. So the whole city appears to be a bit like a building site at the moment, but that in the background is the Museum of Natural History. And how about that for a statue? Seagull in a raincoat. So this is the cathedral, or Notre Dame, and obviously severely damaged during the Second World War, various bombing raids between 1939 and 1945. As you can see, the whole of the site around the cathedral was decimated, and then in 1949 they began the rebuild.
The cathedral here was previously a parish church dating from the 16th and 17th centuries. It's the oldest of the very few buildings in the central part of the city to have survived the devastation of World War II. It became a cathedral and the seat of the bishop in 1974 when the diocese was created. The bell tower dates from around 1520 and the main facade is Baroque. The organs were the gift of the Cardinal de Richelieu in 1637 when he was governor of the town. Inaugurated in 1958, the city's hall and square are a major cornerstone of Auguste Perret's vision for the city. More about him a little bit later. The clean and bright mixed-use buildings around the square have held up well, and their high ceilings and tall windows recall neoclassical townhouses. They all adhere to Perret's rule that residents should be able to claim their right to peace, fresh air, sunlight and space. And the square is a welcoming public place with flower beds, lawns and fountains, all at the foot of the 72-metre tower of the City Hall. Not far from the town hall is a public garden called the Square Saint-Roch, although it is actually a quadrilateral. It measures around 2 hectares in size and is decorated with statues, waterbeds and so on. It was built originally in the town centre and then rebuilt by Auguste Perret.
It's located on the site of the old Saint Roch cemetery, which in the 18th century succeeded the lazaretto for plague victims. It opened in 1868 and underwent extensive overhauls after the bombings of World War II. It's home to many plant species, over 30 varieties of trees, and is well worth a visit. We really enjoyed exploring this city, wandering down to the beach and then back inland to explore Auguste Perret's incredible church, which has been described as modern architecture at its most powerful. We've mentioned Perret before. From 1945 to 1964, the city commissioned him and his studio to head the rebuilding of the entire city after it had been completely destroyed during World War II. St Joseph's was built between 1951 and 1958 as part of this reconstruction, and it acts as a memorial to the 5,000 civilians fallen and the usual sanctuary dedicated to a patron saint. Perret showed what reinforced concrete could achieve by devising a self-supporting tower 107 metres tall. So when you stand in the choir, there's absolutely nothing above you but a hollow tube with bare concrete illuminated by sunlight filtered through stained glass. Such is the church's presence that you can see it from almost anywhere in the city, and it stands as a beacon to the sea traffic at night.
And these are the palaces of justice.
On our way back to the ship, we came across the world's narrowest house. It's actually an ironic and irreverent commentary on the world and an art installation by the artist Erwin Worm. Well, I'm afraid that's it for now from the Normandy coast in France. We'll be back soon with more cruises, holidays, city breaks and day trips. But in the meantime, take a look at the other videos on this channel featuring Caribbean and Mediterranean cruises, plus our visits to eco parks and theme parks in Mexico, the United States and Europe. And you'll also find city breaks in the UK and Europe, as well as short breaks providing top tips, hints and ideas. And again, if you enjoy any of the videos here, you can really help the channel by clicking on the like button, ringing that notification bell and subscribing. We've got all sorts of plans for the future, including a trip to the Portuguese island of Madeira, more cruises and Christmas markets. So make sure you join me, Martin Ballard, next time for episode 53 of Main Street Martin.
I'm gonna go write a million songs if that's the way to be. the class to beat them all and go down in history. I'll be the one to reach the stars, but only if you're with me tonight, 'cause that'll be